Welcome, everybody. My name is Foss, and you are listening to the first episode of the Late Night Caught Sleeping podcast. In this installment, we will be discussing the topic of scoop nuts. And along with this audio recording, you will also hear audio from the game Steep in the background, because I forgot to mute it. So if you are watching this on YouTube, you can witness the video version of the podcast featuring the gameplay. If you are watching the audio version, I apologize for the background noise. Alright, I've started the recording.
Anyways, so what do you guys think about pistachios?
Let's start this fresh. Let's get this right.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so we got episode 1 of the late night, which is not really super late, but it's the late night caught sleeping podcast.
Yes.
So scoop nuts.
Yes.
That is our first topic here. All right.
Yes, sir.
So-
Our first episode's about
Actually, should we, introduce everyone first?
That would
yeah.
be smart.
That's Twitter stock.
That would be smart, and that's why we're not doing it.
Alright,
Okay. So we were starting off with peanuts. Now,
Well, no, we haven't done the very important aspect of it. All right, so we got our real introduction of the topic here is
Oh, hell yeah.
oh yeah, my bad.
There we go.
So today we're going to be talking about scoop nuts.
yeah. So we got the scoops, we got the nuts, but we gotta talk about those first, and then put them together. The experience of scooping nuts. All right.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
peanut.
quick question. What type of utensil are you scooping it with?
We're not there yet.
We're gonna get
nuts first.
Okay, nuts
Yeah.
first.
We're going in reverse order, so it's nut
Okay.
scoops.
Or the opposite of intelligent. Got it. Okay.
So we gotta go. Right, peanuts. Peanuts is pretty good. Middle
Yeah.
of the road.
Good job.
Salty.
Yeah.
Drop zones you discovered. The
Yes.
most challenging.
Unless you get the sweet kind. There are sweet peanuts.
Okay, what do you get using sweet peanuts?
A few of these
Airplane.
Snow park nearby.
Okay, fair enough.
Brushing up those tricks into yours.
What's the deal with
Of course you do.
airplane nuts?
They're too sweet.
Oh, are they though?
Flight Orchestra called. They want their sound effects.
Well, I mean, they should probably stop trying to use voice mod then. You know, just a heads up. You know, some folks might be able to recognize that and call them out for it. So
Yeah.
if they really want it back,
Whatever.
Yeah. But
this is what I'm doing instead of the fancy firearms Fosscast. This
The Late Night
podcast. The Late Night Scoop Nuts podcast.
Scoop nuts.
No. Late Night Caught Sleeping podcast. Episode 1
Yeah.
is scoop nuts.
Scoop nuts.
Alright.
episode 1, scoop nuts. Right. So
Yeah. Alright, so what's the next kind of nut?
so we got the walnut.
Yo, I'm
Yeah.
skiing
They're really
backwards.
He's skiing backwards, but is it nuts?
I don't think it's that nuts. I think it's corn.
I'm gonna say that's skiing backwards.
Skiing backwards.
Dude, that's
Just-
skiing
Just a
backwards.
thought.
Yeah.
But
Why are
Yeah,
you
no.
making walnuts by
Show the
skiing
team wrestle
backwards?
what you're capable of. They're pretty much the barrier by the ultra natural.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I would want to try that. I'm not good at skiing.
Let's get
I don't know how well I am with a ski, or two skis. Two skis and ski pole.
Singular ski.
I'm not even sure how I would do with a
It's called a snowboard.
snowboard.
The ski board.
Everything.
Skiboard.
More liquids in my body.
So
Alright.
so walnuts.
Walnuts,
they're pretty.
yeah.
They're pretty tough.
They are.
Yeah.
But I gotta say they are pretty good because of that.
Are they igneous rock stuff?
They're more sedimentary.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
They're more like vegementary.
Ah,
They're
Grow
vegetable.
them.
Okay.
they're vegetables.
Grow.
Of course.
Makes sense.
Nuts are vegetables.
Now,
Crazy.
I don't know about you all, but I always think walnuts are just a tad bit juicy. Maybe it's the kind of walnuts I'm eating. I don't know. But whenever I have them, it's like it's as if someone dipped them in water.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Watery
I think that might be
walnuts?
Yeah.
I think that just might be walnuts. There.
You feel like you're just like biting into like it's just juicy cellulose.
Okay.
Is that what you?
Maybe it's not like completely juicy. It's a hint of juice.
That's disgusting.
How much juice though?
A
A
hint.
walnut amount.
You've just established this. It's a hint. A hint of juiciness.
Okay.
Yes.
Just a
Do you have
splash.
about milliliters though?
I think that's about right. 1 to 2 millimeters or milligrams.
Millisplashes.
Yeah, millisplash.
Oh my god, scientific measurement right there.
10 out of 10.
Is this
Yeah.
the metric
So-
system?
Yeah, it's that.
Okay, so we also with walnuts, they're the biggest kind of nut that at least that I've ever seen.
I can show you a big.
Well, hold on.
Ooh.
No.
We gotta cut that from the video.
I didn't even hear what was said.
I can show you a big kind of nut. What kind of nut are you talking here? Is it like a tree nut?
Okay, well, I don't know what you guys are thinking about, but I was gonna show you a coconut.
Oh, you know what? That's a pretty good contender.
Wait,
actually.
is a coconut actually a nut?
I don't think it is.
I think it's an honorary.
It's a
nut.
fruit.
It's an honorary
It's called a
nut.
nut, but it's not actually a nut.
It's a faker. It pretends.
It's a misnomer, but it does conk people out. It hits,
No, it's a
it
misnomer.
hits hard. I think like the coconut and the walnut, they feel like they're brothers and they hang out a lot. And they,
Yeah.
while they know they're not actually blood related, they go
like,
everywhere.
Yo,
Wait,
It's like an Asian-
nut
They'll go to the
blood?
bowling alley.
Nut blood.
Um, they'll go on camping trips.
Yeah,
You know,
it's nice. You get the mix of sweet and salty.
the walnut's not quite big on them, but yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Right.
walnut wood. I mean, they got a pretty
Walnut
good
wood.
wood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So that's
look,
Real
I
tough.
mean, Scoop Nuts. Why are we doing the podcast or the video or whatever in the worst channel for it? That has the most
That's
Audio
the
quality.
point.
Yeah,
That's the idea.
point.
That's
Oh.
the whole thing.
That's our shtick.
It's we're getting that iPod lo-fi, just hitting that real like you've got to zoom.
This is something you can study too.
Content on the planet.
Yeah, you like
Alright.
recorded this with a real bad mic, like on
Yeah.
like you were using like those ear pod, like just
Earpods.
not ear
Guys,
pods. You were
I dropped
using
my toaster in my bathtub before I plugged it in.
so you're sitting there, you got like those real cheap earbuds, right?
Oh,
But
hold
they
on.
have like the mic on it, halfway up it, and you're like recording. You've got the car radio on. You're in the back seat, and you're recording that. You're recording the radio there. And
Oh, I
that's
can give
that's
you
what
some
you got
more
going on
heater
here.
noises that you want me to.
My lord.
No. We don't need to get that far.
Can I-
Just voice quality.
Can I just like stick my microphone inside the case of my computer, like in the CPU fan, and destroy my
That's
computer?
not awful.
No, no.
Professionals
I'm gonna-
have standards.
I'm gonna veto that. But I will tell you one thing: if you've got a Pringles can,
Oh lord.
if you've got a Pringles can, I'll tell you what you can do. You can.
I got a friend.
Oh, I flipped right into that tree.
Oh boy. You can put the Pringles can right over top of your microphone.
Oh yeah, that's 1,000 times.
Right into the metal part of the Pringles can.
Yeah.
This one's got to be Pringles. Specifically Pringles, so you can reverberate your voice.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get that with walnuts. Unfortunately, this isn't the nut thing. We're on a bit of a tangent.
I'm gonna stand you. I think.
How do I sound right now?
Oh,
You sound like why not?
Yeah, a lot better.
Okay, so you know what? That's it's a good segue here. I want to know.
Okay, how do I sound now?
Let's talk about the wine nut.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
why
say,
not?
aren't there wine nuts?
It's undersalted, honestly.
Yeah,
You
really.
think-
I mean, they're for the most part, they're a sweet kind of nut.
I don't feel
some
like
still have a grain of salt in there, but
I feel like the wine nut is still trying to figure out where it belongs in the nut family.
yeah.
We actually
As
have a
opposed to
real
its
wine
brother, the egg nut. Goodness gracious, the egg nut. Man, it knows where it wants to be. It wants to be right in those recordings of like
Wants to be a really
CS:GO.
bad-
You're in a voice, you know, and you're trying to play some CS:GO and get some recording for YouTube, and Eggnet pops in. You know, you gotta hammer down. You gotta be like, hey, Eggnet, what are you doing in here? But that Eggnet, it knows where it wants to be. The wine nut, still trying to figure that out. Still figuring that out.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the wine nut?
I'm gonna give it like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the why not is not trying. It's just there's still a niche to be figured out there.
Yeah.
Or as
I
Spotify
personally
says,
want more salt
niche.
in my wine nut.
Welcome to the Alps. Why?
Well, Spotify can be weird, so
Mm.
we're gonna let them be weird. And
I would
Yeah.
rate the wine nut 10 out of 10.
I think that's a bit bias coming out of an actual wine nut. Or
Are you
no.
calling them a
No,
nut?
I think there's some. I think as a resident wine nut expert, we've gotta give a little leeway
Hold
there.
on. I would like to bring something up. So, during the Killer 7 speedrun, I was referred to as an absolute nut. Is that something
Oh,
we can agree upon?
Can y'all stop talking about my nut?
We've moved on. So
Yeah,
Good.
we're on the
Absolute-
7 nut now.
absolute nut. Is that?
Yeah, now we're on the absolute nut.
An absolute
Yeah.
nut basically means that it's a nut that cannot be negative. It is always 0 or positive. Right?
I will agree with that.
So,
Plus,
you know,
How do you
without
feel?
context, like, I'm not sure. Or without context, you guys probably won't know, like, on what scale of absolute this absolute nut was.
so it's about the most absolute you can get.
what is the scale? What? Hold on. No, like what? This isn't just like a numeric or like a quality. There's I feel like there's a context we're missing here that Foss is just dying to tell us. He's just cracking up at the seams
No.
to let us know. Well, are you telling me you're not
Unless
gonna
it
let us?
is vital information,
Is this a
I
nut
feel like we
cracker
can
thing?
decipher this on our own.
Okay. Well, all right. So, but what's the context? What brought that comment out?
The fact that I had one hit left walking up to an enemy and didn't heal, and I had a good chance of dying.
So you had a stroke.
No, not even
They
close,
were-
Bob.
So the question is, did you walk out of that situation in that speed run alive?
Yes, actually. Beyond all odds.
So then
I think that qualifies. That's a very strong, absolute nut.
That nut
fairly
is very absolute.
Yeah.
absolute nut.
So I think we've, unless anybody else has got any nut stories, I think we can move on to scoops.
Hold on, I have a nut.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, you have
Okay. No.
Okay, no, not that kind of nut story.
We got some nuts going on.
Whenever I was in the third grade, fourth grade,
Oh, it's got some roots, some backstory here. A little
yeah,
history.
it's got
Okay.
backstory. I'm allergic to peanuts, and they had peanut cake for lunch.
Oh.
And so they basically said, screw that, you're eating it anyway. And I didn't know any better because I was like 8 years old or something. And
Oh,
so
that is cruel.
I ate the
That's
entire
illegal.
thing. And then I went to the nurse, and she said I had lied. And so one trip to the ER later, because obviously I hadn't lied, my mom talked to the principal who yelled at her, and then my mom went and to the superintendent, and then both the principal and the nurse were fired for breaking the
So, all right. So, what kind of nut can we qualify that at? Is
that's a big
is that would we? I believe I have a name for this. I think we have a name for this. It's I think that's negligent. I think that's a
Negligent.
negligent nut.
It's a negligent nut.
Like, that's incredibly, like, just offhand. Like, they got fired for that on a negligence. That's pretty big deal.
I rate this nut a 0 out of 10.
It's really tragic. But, you know, you survived, and that's the important bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I didn't actually survive. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. You're an undead now.
Yeah, I'm just a
Thanks
specter.
Thanks to the onslaught of the negligent nut.
Negligent. Negligent.
Okay, so scoops.
Yes.
We got all kinds of scoops. It's crazy. So we can start with the spoon.
Yes,
Spoon's
spoon
pretty
is
good.
widely used.
Why would you use the
They're
spoon?
good for picking up small to medium size amounts of nuts.
Well, it depends on what size spoon. It could be like large
Are we talking
honking,
about
like
like a ladle type spoon?
maybe. I mean, if you
That's-
still want
no,
to
that's
call
for a
that
little-
a
I would
spoon,
say
then
a ladle is for a lot of nuts.
yeah.
For a lot of nuts, a spoon for a small amount of nuts. It has
Well,
very versatile.
Okay, Pyros, with that, so, although there are large spoons, there are very big spoons out there, and there's also very little spoons out there. On average, the average spoon size comes out to be about the size of an average spoon.
So my question is how am I going to...
Yes,
Wait,
the average spoon is average spoon.
We're going to get spoons here
No.
to scoop our nuts. How am I
Noobscutt
going to scoop?
just said the average spoon is about the size of the average spoon, and I'm not gonna let that just fly.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
Okay.
that's got to be a question.
But I do want to...
Before
Before we get to that, let's put that on hold for a moment. I have a question. I have a very important question. How am I going to scoop? We're talking maybe like 3 to 5 walnuts in the span of 30 seconds. How am I going to scoop 3 to 5 walnuts in the span of 30 seconds while my kids are playing outside out front?
I think you need to do at least 6, honestly.
Like how else?
So,
I feel like a
ladle is
ladle
a
is
little
really
too
important. Walnuts are pretty big and they're vicious.
they're big, but I feel like a ladle is a bit much, because with a ladle you can get around 10.
Yeah, you can
Around
really get
10,
the job
10.
done.
But if you need exactly 3, I might suggest going for a rice scooper.
Now, I gotta say, it's gotta be 3 to 5. Because I don't know how big that hoard of walnuts is. It's pretty scary thing. Kids playing out front.
Right, you get a very thin
You
wire
could put
mesh
your-
net, and then you just swing it and catch all the nuts.
Well, okay, hold up. But that's another scoop
another
for
scooping
scoop nuts. We're gonna have to address that one later. But if we're going spoon category here, what kind of classification of spoon do I need?
Omega spoon.
I feel like it's got to be the
Are
ladle.
we talking about a crouton spoon or a ladle?
The ladle would work best, I imagine. If we're trying to get as many.
I think we need the high-powered,
I
high-capacity.
just want to say, if we are strictly talking about ladles, the average ladle can hold about half a cup.
We can't underestimate the absolute
saying
size
that-
of a walnut.
Saying that, okay, let's say we're not using walnuts, but we're using almonds, okay?
Alright.
Just for an example. We could fit 45 of them in a ladle.
Let's see, that's around about, what, 30 to 50? 30 to
That's a lot of
50?
almonds.
Yeah, it's a fair amount.
That's an amount of album.
So yeah, so spoons, pretty formidable.
Is there any other?
Then we have-
methods?
The next method, I'm gonna have to say it's hands. Natural. Free.
Yes.
You have them unless you're a leper, in which case,
Yeah.
rest
Or
in
you're a
peace, you can't speak
paraplegic,
nuts.
you know, you can't.
Yes.
That's the thing too. I mean, but like,
That's when it's
I'm
a
sure they have. I'm sure they have something.
mean-
they have some means of scooping nuts.
Yes, their mouth.
Yes.
They're
Hands
The,
are
the
used to
natural, the
scoop-
freeness of having hands to scoop
Yes.
nuts.
I
Can't
scoop
beat it.
nuts with my hands all the time, and I can speak from personal experience. that
Come on, guys. Come on now. Come on.
I
I
can speak
feel
from
like-
personal experience that
Okay,
scooping nuts with your hands is actually very efficient.
I feel
Especially
like
when using both hands.
hands would be more effective than a ladle because ladles are meant for liquid.
Like,
No, see,
the
that's
almonds
true.
or walnuts would fall through your fingers, I imagine, right?
No,
Well,
but I gotta
if you
play
cup
devil's
them.
advocate here. Scooping nuts with your hands is definitely not appropriate in supermarkets.
Yeah.
I feel like
you
that-
have to use the you have to use
can't-
the
You can't let
appropriate-
anybody catch you. Like, you can't let anybody see you scooping nuts.
Okay, Pyro, I need to contribute for a second. But the supermarket's not providing a scooping mechanism for the customer. That's a negligent nut right there.
That is another negligent nut. A real rampage situation right there.
Yes. Supermarkets are the best source for nuts, arguably, and so for them
yeah,
not to
gotta
for
be.
them not to provide a scooper is actually against the law, specifically Nut Code Section 2, Paragraph 5.
Yeah,
I
very
believe-
specific, very legal. Yes,
To quote,
we all know it.
any
but-
any vendor of nuts must provide a scooping mechanism that is of size 2 inches by 2 inches or greater.
Now, my question is, what if they provide hands? How would you go about it?
Well, okay, hands do
No,
count
they
as
just provide hands, right? They're free range, very
Yeah.
very sanitary.
gloves.
Here's the thing. Hands, are, even though they do classify as a type of scooper, again, as you said, it's very inappropriate to scoop nuts with your hands at the market.
So you feel like
slaughter laws.
do you feel like that even though they've technically provided a scoop mechanism, right? Do you feel like maybe that supermarket has deemed itself inappropriate and they're just trying to roll with it?
For a normal supermarket, yes. If the market is trying to go for something, more wide, free range, they've got a bunch of different artisan nuts, then maybe, because that would fit the theme of the nut. But if we're talking about commercial,
Like your everyday, you walk
like
into the nut store off the corner of like a small town.
yeah,
You go to your Walmart nut.
Walnut.
You're going to you're going counteracted, man.
yeah, then
Yeah.
those need to provide some kind of more appropriate scoop. But
You
if it's
feel
more
like it's a more professional established.
yes,
Yeah,
and with the more indie, it's more like more down to earth. The nuts there.
Alright, look. So here's some science, right? A tablespoon is by weight 500 grams. assuming walnuts are 28.6 grams, like at their largest size, like, worst case scenario, you can hold roughly 17 walnuts.
Well, that's a very strong. Well, I can do that in 15 seconds. Then
With a ladle?
2 children out
No,
trying.
not with a ladle, with a tablespoon.
Oh.
Oh, that's a big tablespoon. Now,
Yeah.
see, these are walnuts without the shell, though. But I feel like that's perhaps the training simulation they used for that might have been a little. They might have got confused on what the prompt is. See, when you're dealing with wild walnuts on the roam, they've got the shell. I mean, there's no question about it. If you're a walnut out in the wild and you don't have your shell, you're done for. Right.
Yeah,
So-
so then you don't have any protection against the nut army.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
And they
remember,
conscript
kids-
you, and then they just grind you up,
I mean-
and then it's just horrible.
Okay, so
And of course,
we're going
it's
by
just
kernels
indecent
here,
to not wear
Walnut
clothes.
kernels. If we're going by walnut kernels, we can redo the calculations here.
Well, that would also assume that the walnuts are liquid.
What?
Yeah,
Liquid
so assuming
walnut?
a liquid walnut, assuming a liquid walnut, you could probably. So let me get the densities here.
See, but I feel like that's not practical. It's a nice calculation in theory, but like when you really got to scoop nuts in the wild,
They're
it's gotta be-
solid.
It's got to be solid.
Okay, wait. Here, let's do some calculations in grams, which is solid, and then so 500 divided by 14.8, which is the largest walnut kernel, means you can now up to 33 nuts using a tablespoon.
Now, here's the thing, though. That's assuming that these walnuts are more solid. You need to provide some kind of airspace between the nuts, because that's how physics works, at least in the realm of nuts. So I'd account for 75% of the density is nut, and
No, but
25% is air.
That's already accounted for, the capacity of a tablespoon, including air, for like what it's holding, because it can hold 500 grams of solid material. And so
Of
that's
solid
like-
material, but that's the thing. How much can it carry with solid and air?
500. That's
Okay,
built
then
into the-
because we're trying to measure how much nut we can carry, not how much nut and air we can carry. So
Yeah.
you need to subtract the amount of air.
Well, I'd have to have
So-
a tablespoon and walnuts to do that. And also a triple beam balance.
He's got to go out in the field now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't
We
just
would have
run
to
the-
have liquid walnuts.
I can't go buy walnuts at like 9 o'clock at night.
Yes, you
I-
No,
can.
you don't go buy them. You go out to your local
all right.
walnut farm.
Let's bring this back in here. So
Yes.
Go
so we've got
and get some walnuts.
no. We're done with that for now. So we've talked at length about the spoon category. Very very wide variety. The hand category, little on the unorthodox, but it's natural. It's free. It's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Now we want to talk about the professional, the slim, the strong nut scoop.
Oh. The
To scoop
specialized
nuts.
news.
We're talking like candy store scoop. Gone down to the corner with a nickel. Scoop nuts.
Oh yeah, I'm looking on Etsy right now. I can see plenty of like really genuinely great just nut scoopers right now.
Right, like the scoop. That's what we call. That's what we gotta call it. It's the scoop.
It's the scoop, because that's what it is. It's the scoop.
It's got
and
that.
the-
It's got that shape. You can't mistake.
Yeah.
It's not a shovel. It's not a trowel. It's the scoop. Just. It does the job. That's what you see. That's what you expect to see. You go to your local Walmart Nut, Walnut Mart, interchangeable. I mean, their branding has been confusing, but we know what we're talking about
Nut
here.
Mart Wall?
Yeah. It was
That
a
one
Walmart
too.
Yeah.
Honestly, the 2 weeks where they had that ad up for that new branding, I don't know what they were going for with that, but you know, when it's Super Bowl, you gotta throw it out.
I
there,
feel
right?
like they're trying to show, no matter where it is, no matter how they change up the spelling, it's always
as long
that
as you
same
got
nut
the
store.
nut, you got the wall, and you got the mart.
And you got the
You can always count on
got
them
the
to
nut.
get some
And the
Walmart.
mart.
So
You got
I'd
the
like
mart,
to-
the nut, and most importantly, the wall. I mean, how else are you going to keep your nuts in if you don't have wall?
A bowl?
Then you're not a mart. Then you're not a nut Walmart. Walmart nut. Walnut mart. Anyway, whatever they call it. Anywho, like that's the kind of thing, like, right, the scoop. That's what you expect to see in an establishment like that.
Yeah. It's the defined. It's.
I
the
mean,
defined
you see that
shape
in an indie
scoop.
place, and you go, you got to tell them like, hey, you're not an indie. Where's the hands?
We don't
the
deal
hands?
in
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I came to your indie mart to experience the indie experience, and I
The raw
came here.
hand scoop nut. You're telling me you're just gonna bring, albeit the versatile, but the commercialized scoop into your indie establishment? No, like it's that prolific. It's good. It's a good scoop. The scoop to scoop nuts.
Yes.
But to get that true indie feel to it, you gotta have the hands.
Sure, but we've been over the hands, so we're at the scoop, right? So like, how do you think back in the day, the age of caveman, how do you think they figured that out? Like,
How did they scoop nuts in ancient times?
They threw
other
rock at
than
it.
hands, where did they find that design? I mean, it's just the scoopist, it's just the nuttest, it's the scoop.
The nut.
What did they do? You think they just like rolled a rock into a tree? Found a walnut tree?
Or maybe they saw it from afar and someone's like, hey, I'm gonna go up there, see what that is.
I mean, maybe they tried their hands and like they got assaulted by like 3 to 5 nuts, 3 to 5 walnuts, and it was, so they had to go away, and they're like, all right, we got to bring something to this. We gotta conquer this situation, or we're not getting those walnuts.
We gotta show authority to the lineup.
Yeah, we gotta hunt these things.
Show me authority.
Yeah.
So
You said why not and not walnut.
I'm having a
And
stroke.
hence started the Walnut War of 1789.
1789.
That's a bit
No, you
too
don't.
recent.
We don't
No,
talk
yeah,
about
that's
that
the
one.
caveman times, obviously, dude. Come on.
We don't talk
Six,
about that
That's a
one.
bit too recent and still too controversial to bring up on the podcast.
All right, no, but
I
if
get
we want
that.
to talk about controversial, all right, that's a good segue. The next one, it's a real crazy one, real new. Strapping rockets to the nuts. Can we really call that a scoop?
Nah, dude. It's not even a scoop. You don't do the
It's not
scooping.
itself is not physically a scoop. However, it gets the same exact job done. It transfers the nuts from one place to another, and it does that in a timely manner, and the nuts are safe.
But
However-
the real question is it timely? Have we really done the math here to see what it takes to strap rockets onto nuts?
Well, I mean,
I think it's less about is it timely, and it's more about
How
if
far you
it
can get it.
really applies to the definition of a nut scoop. If someone
I'll tell you right
Yeah,
now,
would read that
this
out
might
for
be a
you.
personal preference, but I don't want to strap rockets to my nuts. I feel like I would have roasted nuts by the time they get where they need to go.
Well, okay, then if you're so worried about the roasting of your nuts, then just get unroasted nuts, and
Right.
so the unroast and the roast cancel out, and you just end up with normal nuts.
That might be true, but still, like, how much do you feel like in the traditional sense of the scoop nut? How are we going to put a metric to strapping rockets to our nuts?
Now, hear me out. An empty rocket with no bottom part, so there's just a hole in the bottom. You use that to scoop the nuts.
Well, hold up. How much? I feel like now that's starting to encroach on the territory of our classic, the scoop, you know.
The scoop.
I feel like
But it's
maybe
rocket shaped.
So it's more of a
you-
novelty scoop.
Yeah, it's an outfit.
that could be the bit here, maybe, but it feels like a little space aged. I mean, I bet you if you looked back in some of the comics in the 50s, the rocket-shaped scoop might have been a thing. It might have. You might have even seen it on Star Trek, for all I know. But like,
Also, I just
How-
want to point out here, 6, you said, oh, sorry, Noop's Guts, you said 1780, wait, am I Noop's Guts? I can't,
Uh,
no, I'm Scott
I am
Noob.
no,
You are Noop's Guts,
1792.
okay.
I'm Noop's Guts.
1792, not 1782.
Yeah.
No, 89 I thought.
I just
How you said
checked it, and actually
1789?
It was 1762. I was actually
let's
off
call
on
it. Let's call it the dubious year. We'll.
Yeah.
Anyway,
fair.
all I'm trying to say is, that was the year of the French Revolution. And not the Nut War. Unless
I'm
the
sorry,
French
are you
are
telling
nuts.
me? Are you telling me the French Revolution was not about the scooping of the nuts?
Now, here's the thing. Hold on. I
We need
can't see
to
Discord right now.
unmute Love Nuts.
So, Scupnoots. So here's the thing. The thing about the French Revolution is that most of the French during that time were actually classified as absolute nuts. So that could also still be the Great Nut War, you know, because the French were indeed classified as nuts. They were just on the same level as me during the aforementioned speedrun.
So not that bright. Which is fair enough. They
Can we mute Love Nuts again?
I think we can come to an agreement here that Love Nuts, as long as you stay quiet, we're good. So, continue, present Mick.
No. That's all I had to say. Was the French were absolute nuts. So
Yeah,
Scupnoots, yeah, the French Revolution and the Great Nut War, technically one and the same. There were a few nuts outside of France that were also doing some warring.
So I just looked it up on Wikipedia, and according to Wikipedia,
There you have it. There we have it.
Okay.
Whoever's editing this, we gotta put that up.
That's me.
Don't
Yep,
forget to
that's
put that
me.
up in the video.
Yep.
All right.
Got it.
Absolute proof. We've got it.
There's no saying it's not a nut war to the French Revolution. The French Revolution was about nuts. Whether you like it or not, this is what happened, and I can prove it via Wikipedia, the free Wikipedia.
Yeah, there we have the screenshot right there. We don't need to delve too far into it. It's unrefutable.
Yes.
So I think we have it.
Yeah.
So to close this out, segue back to it. The very thing that solved the French Revolution, the conveyor scoop.
Ah, yes, a more industrial approach to that.
It was a little interesting. So the first one, ropes and baskets was how it started. It was really...
It was efficient.
Yeah.
Travel
I think someone got the bright idea. They were on a ship, right? They had their crates of nuts. And someone was in the mast, I believe, was how the story went. And they had their scoop in their hand, and they were playing around with it, playing around with some extra rope they had. They tied some rope to their scoop, whatever. And they were swinging it around, and then all of a sudden, they had a scoop full of nuts. Bada bing, bada boom, just like Isaac Newton with the apple on his head.
For whatever reason, I knew you were gonna bring up Isaac Newton.
Right, but this wasn't on a hill with a tree. It was on a ship. This was a whole ship deal. I mean, and it solved the issue. It really did. And so that has been Late Night Caught Sleeping Podcast, iPodcast, Podnutcast.
I just want to point out that the word nut is said on the Wikipedia page for French Revolution.
Yeah, it was a nut war.
No, not then, but again, later. Somewhere else.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
It is in the references at the bottom of the page.
So,
You see, there is an article called The History of France in a Nutshell. Now, listen. France in a nutshell. France is in a nutshell. France is a nut. Break it out.
There it is. That's our closing statement there, folks.
People.
Right there.
We've got it. And that's been the podcast. Everybody, let's say goodbye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Have a good
nutty
folks.
day. Have a nutty day.